this web developer basically created nothing and took all of our money, right? So it was the first time I was like severely scammed. I don't think optometrists yet have valued tech for the things it can do for your practice. There's really no way to bring your visions to the world if you can't already see it coming to fruition, if you can't already see the success. I think humans would be better if we created more and consumed less. I always say that.
This is Optometrists Building Empires, and I'm your host, Ankit Patel. Each week, we'll explore the journey of practice ownership and leadership in optometry. Join us for insights and strategies from the top minds in our field. This show is sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team helps your office increase revenues, reduce costs, and reduce staffing headaches. Let's build your empire together. Today's guest, I'm excited to introduce you all to. She's a board-certified optometrist and nationally recognized dry eye specialist with more than 15 years of experience treating complex ocular surface disease. She's one of the only optometrists in the U.S. offering a fully integrated ocular aesthetics program, combining eyelid rejuvenation, collagen renewal, tear film safe cosmetic guidance, and functional eyelid health. She's a visionary entrepreneur and co-founder of Dr. Contact Lens, a pioneering SaaS platform, and the founder of a luxury medical spa that is redefining modern aesthetic wellness. She's founder and medical director of Eye Care and Aesthetics. Please welcome Dr. Jennifer Tabiza. Jennifer, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, you're quite the entrepreneur. It's really impressive reading your background and knowing you a little bit.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and with that, what was the most important thing that helped you grow your empire?
Well, a couple of different things, but I think the main thing is that I really figured out what my zone of genius is. And then I kind of based everything that I built on that, meaning for anybody, right? Figure out what's natural to you. Obviously, a lot of us are optometrists. So what's natural to us is healthcare, taking care of people. But is there a secondary one? For me, it was brand building. And brand building was just exciting for me. It was something that I loved. I was like, I want an idea and then I want to create a whole identity behind it. And that's what I ended up doing. I took my healthcare as like the main zone of genius. And then I essentially built businesses. Instead of chasing ideas, I was just building businesses that kind of filled in the gap of what I felt was missing. So I built my eye care practice and I felt there was a technology missing. So I built Dr. Contact Lens. Once I built Dr. Contact Lens, I was like, okay, I want to build a community. So we built Techify, which is tech companies within our industry. We host events. And then I built my med spa, which branched off of my dry eye practice. And then lastly, I started doing consulting and coaching last year, which was really fun, helping doctors basically do the same, like giving them the tools to build aesthetic practices, dry eye practices quickly without having to like learn the long and hard way. So everything I did branched off of like what I consider to be my zone of genius. And everyone has one, at least one, right? It's like you probably have a couple and that's your core. And if you build everything off of that, you'll be successful. You don't want to like just chase a random idea because then you have no passion behind it and you can't build an empire behind something you don't really care about.
That's a really cool approach. So it's almost like you're skill stacking. It's like, hey, I'm really good at this one thing. What can I get? Okay, I'm going to be a doctor. Great. I love this. Great. I also like cosmetics. Okay, awesome. Oh, I have a need for this technology.
Exactly.
Build a SaaS. You know what? I'm already in the technology space. Let's put some other people together with it too. So it's just stacks on top of each other.
It does. And you realize that once you open one business and you're successful, a lot of the philosophies overlap, right? Like what I learned at Dr. Contact Lens, I applied to my med spa, I applied to my coaching business. It was just, you have to learn how to market yourself. And you have to be willing to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to be seen and not worry about what happens next. You know, you just kind of throw yourself in, and the more you do it, you get more comfortable. And then, you know, I'm sure these 5 things won't be all I do because it's now just a process for me. I'm like, oh, here's an idea. Let me go through my process to bring it to the world.
I love that. So as you were growing your quote unquote empire, and you've done it really cool, different ways, what's something you ran into that you didn't expect?
I think that I didn't expect the level of complexity in selling a product. Sometimes we all love what we do, and we think if we bring it to the world, everyone will love it too. But the key thing that I had to learn that was difficult for me was making sure people understood the offering. And it seems so simple to someone who's created the vision, right? Because it's in your mind and it's obvious and I use it and it's great. But your messaging, I've learned so much about proper messaging, and I'm still learning to this day. I invest in understanding marketing and brand voice all the time. I'm constantly reading, listening to podcasts, I'm always trying to learn what else can I do to make my vision really clear to people because there's so much messaging out there. It's easy to get lost when you're wanting to present something to the world because everyone's presenting something to the world. So I think that that is the key thing that I had to learn, and it's not always as easy as it sounds.
Yeah. And I love that honestly very you have a sense of humility, right? It's like, hey, I'm gonna get basically punched in the mouth, but I'm gonna keep getting back on the horse. So talk about why keep going, right? Because like it's difficult to do some of these, but you keep going.
You keep going because it keeps life interesting. I don't wanna have a monotonous life that's predictable. I want to have challenges that help me grow. I feel like that's what we're all doing on this planet, to be honest. Some of us don't necessarily always have the time or the energy to challenge ourselves. We have families, we have things going on in our lives, health things, but there is always room for growth in our personal journeys despite everything around us, and business is one of the best ways to learn about who you are in this world because everyone is their own personal brand. If you're on the internet, you can see that, right? Everyone has their own unique voice, own unique offering, and you never know what you offer and how it might impact somebody else's life. Even if it's only one person, that's still profound. It's still like a butterfly effect on the collective. So I think that, yeah, it's challenge. I don't like to not be challenged and I don't like to not create. I think humans would be better if we created more and consumed less. I always say that. We consume too much and it's like a toxic loop. If you're always creating something, you don't need to consume as much. So I've noticed that about myself.
Yeah. You know what? I will say from personal experience, it's a lot harder to create than it is to consume. That's for sure.
Of course. It takes that brain power, the brain juice. But, it's there. We all have it. We're all given it, we just have to exercise it. It's like a workout. When you start working out, you get used to it. Your brain is the same way. So you just gotta challenge your brain, and your brain likes to do new things it's never done before. That's how you create new neural pathways in your mind. So, you can become an athlete, so to speak, of becoming resilient and learning how to challenge yourself, but it's worth it. It's always worth it.
How do you approach learning? Because like a lot of this seems to be learning is a key fundamental skill, maybe a zone of genius for you as well. But like, how do you approach learning these new
Information.
things?
Yeah, I'm a huge sponge for information in general. I don't think I always I think there's 2 important things if you're going to bring things into the world. One of them is always learning, right? Leaders are readers is a great quote because it's true. If you're not a big reader, listen to podcasts, listen to the book. I'm actually a big audiobook person because I'm very busy. So on my drives, I'll either listen to music, which is always good for your energy too, or I listen to a book. There's really nothing else that I do. So you realize you do have a lot of empty space to take in information. You just have to find the best way for you to gain information. I even scroll on TikTok. I follow a lot of great business coaches on TikTok and I love to watch their little clips. Whatever it is that gets that information in. And the other best way to learn is to share what you learned. So I post on LinkedIn what I've learned, not really always for somebody else, but for me. So I can glue that into my mind and really understand it. And then of course it's great to hear what others think as well about what it is that I'm sharing. So I've been doing a little bit more of that lately because I feel like I'm finally at the point in my life where I've gathered enough knowledge and experience where, okay, I feel like I have some solid things to share. But I've spent the last 10 years being a very serious student of business, marketing, branding, personal branding, all that kind of stuff.
I think that seems to be a common theme with a lot of folks we have on here is the learning and liking to learn, interesting. kind of keeping the antenna up, right? It's like, oh, what's out there? What's it? What's cool?
Most optometrists probably like to learn because we all went to
Yeah.
school. So I think we all have that in common. And sometimes you want something different to learn other than disease. And I think it's okay to expand your horizons beyond that because there's so much information available to us now on the internet. So you might as well go after it and see what it brings to even the way you provide healthcare. Everything affects everything. So what you learn about business can affect your relationships. It can affect how you provide care, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, I like that. And in your, I'm just curious. You do consulting work. I'm guessing helping practices get up to speed on aesthetics, things like that. Do you also work in terms of like, hey, what is your passion? Like, what are you interested in? Like, what do you like to learn about? Is that a part of the like how you do coach and work with folks too? I'm kind of curious about that.
I absolutely am a student of manifestation, energy, human psychology, all of the things that not only drive us, but also how do we bring forth our visions into the world. So I don't know if you've heard of Neville Goddard or Napoleon Hill. These are great teachers of energetic manifestation, mindset coaching, right? How do you because if you learn something great or you want to bring something great to the world, you also want to properly know how to believe in it, execute it with the best energy that you can provide it because everything is energy in this universe anyway. So if you have a great idea and you don't have the right energy behind it, it won't really end up circulating within the universe correctly. So I love that kind of information because Napoleon Hill is really famous for saying you have to see it before you achieve it. There's really no way to bring your visions to the world if you can't already see it coming to fruition, if you can't already see the success, because behind most of what we do, we want to be validated with success. Success indicates to us that what we brought has value and that we should keep going and we should keep offering more. And I think that most people have a lot to offer. It's just about making sure that people can find that information, get it from you, believe in it the way you do. That's the energetic part of it. So I like the mix of the 2 in terms of what I like to learn.
Yeah, no, I remember I was doing my master's program in organizational development. And one of the things that we're studying about it for positive psychology was what are some things that really cause change and people to take action and go after these big picture visions. And there were two key things that fit into that, which you're kind of saying is hope and efficacy. Like, hey, you have to believe that you can do it. And then the other thing is like, oh yeah, I feel optimistic about it. Right, and those just seem like 2 key ingredients that kinda tie in with your idea of, like your concept of, like, oh, yeah, vision, right? As part of it, right? You get like you said, you have to see it, you have to believe it. Has to kinda buy into it somehow, right? Yeah.
And somehow you have to learn how to ride the wave because there's no human way to be positive all the time. So you have to find a way to reset your nervous system, to re-believe in yourself. That's why reading is so great because the moment you feel doubt or fear or, oh, this idea isn't going to work, when you read again and you read that next book and you get reminded that it takes perseverance and resilience for things to happen, it kind of gives you that ammunition to keep going. Most people don't necessarily have a strong cheerleader in their life. So that I think my books are my cheerleaders. Not that I don't have anyone saying go, 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 but the human psyche needs a lot more than probably our friends and family can always offer, especially if you're bringing a vision to the world, especially if you're building a big business or even a small business. It doesn't matter. There's ebbs and flows, and it's when you're ebbing that you really need something to lean on. And I find that
Mm.
information is a great coach, honestly, and also have those people to help you out. I have business coaches and consultants that I work with all the time, and I work with different types because they have different information to help coach me on. I've invested a lot in that as well, and I find that that's always, always been worth it. So, if there's something you wanna do in a certain industry, find a great coach in that industry and invest in learning from them and having someone to guide you through it. That also is something I think that is really most people that are very successful have used in their path of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I like that. Um, I wanna shift gears and talk a little bit of tactics. And a lot of folks are having challenges right now with staffing challenges with their offices. What are you seeing both from your consulting, your software, and your own practices of how people are dealing with that, or maybe you have some secret sauce that you're doing well, or maybe you're struggling as well with it. Like, can you share some stories around that?
I do. People pay me to help them with that. So I'm happy to give some free advice. So I never do job listings. I always recruit. And one way that it can be really great for you to recruit is, first of all, build a community, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. Start to create a community with other optometrists, or if you're in any industry, with people in the industry, because you can then start to have a place to be like, hey, I'm hiring, and people know who you are and can spread the word. The second thing that I do is I never ever list a job on ZipRecruiter or Indeed. I do the opposite. I will actually use something called Resume Finder on these platforms, and I will put in the keywords of exactly what I'm looking for. I will have AI scan all the resumes, give me like the top 20 clients, and then I offer them a job via text or an email. So those are easier ways to do it. Now, I shouldn't use the word easy. It takes a lot of work and effort. Right now, I'm actually working with someone who we are working to hire someone for his dry eye business, patient care coordinator, which I believe you should always have if you want to expand fully into aesthetics. And, he's having a little bit of trouble, right? It's because it does take some diligence and some time, but you can actually find someone pretty quickly when you look this way versus, "Let me just do a job post and hope that somebody good shows up eventually." That's, I think, the big mistake in hiring. Optometrists run a quote unquote "small business," and they don't realize that big businesses typically recruit. That's very, very common. If you need a good
Mm.
optician, go offer great opticians in other places positions. You never know that maybe they're happy, maybe they live far from the office. You don't know. So you've got to put the energy in. But I always find people, oh my gosh, if I need to hire someone, it never takes me more than 2 weeks because I usually use these modalities to find someone.
Gotcha. That's interesting. I like that community aspect. That's really cool. I haven't heard that one yet. That's really
Yeah.
how long does it take to build a community? Like, how long did it take you? How long do you typically see people take to do that?
A community is something that takes a lot of nourishment. You have to not only consistently provide your voice, but you also want to engage with others who are providing their voice that you enjoy. And this is something I've done over the span of 10 years. I pretty much started really creating a community when Brie and I started Techify about 5 years ago. And this created a community amongst me and all of the other tech founders within eye care. And that's a really great community for me because I offer tech, they offer tech. There's so much overlap for us. So we can always be a resource for one another. With the optometrists, I think there is a strong optometry community already, which is great. You just have to kind of jump in. They're posting on Facebook, they're posting on LinkedIn. They want to learn more, they want to do more. Everyone is looking for their own niche practice, which I think is the absolute right move for 2026. If you are not building a niche practice right now with all the changes in the world, you're really not securing your practice against the changes of the future. So, whether it's myopia management, aesthetics, dry eye, vision therapy, behavioral optometry, these are things that are resilient to some of the upcoming changes we're seeing with tech and also the way people view healthcare. They want customized healthcare, otherwise they don't want it at all, and they'll go the cheap and easy route. So if you're not offering a really curated experience, you're basically just going to be left behind with the masses as the world moves forward.
That is gold right there.
Yeah,
I think you just hit it on the head. That's brilliant.
yeah,
And optometry is a unique position to do that. That's actually a really great way of framing it.
yeah.
If it's not curated, then there's no differentiator, and they're just going to go after it's commoditized.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah, it's like always right.
online eye exam now, so what is the difference to a 20-year-old at this point? And they didn't grow
Yeah.
up with healthcare being what it was when we all started practicing. Well, I shouldn't say we all. I'm of the millennial generation. We've been practicing 10, 15 years. So things were different even when we started. And it's going to change, not to scare anyone, but actually to rather motivate them to think about what can they do if robotics are taking over a lot of the mundane things, what can I do that a human would really find value in? And that's how we have to think, crazy enough, is what can a robot not do for another human? That's what I want to do. And that's how we all have to think. And it's people can say it stinks and it's not fun and all to think this way, but it's just reality. So you got to always flow with it. What are you going to do? You can't control it. So you got to learn how to do the best you can with what you're presented with in the world.
And what are some things, let's build on that. What are you excited about for the industry, right? Can you expand that a little bit more?
I'm actually very excited about the dry eye movement happening and the opening to aesthetics becoming something optometrists can do because I've done it myself. I started my dry eye practice maybe 8 years ago, and then I started the med spa, full-scale med spa 4 years ago, and it's more than just a quote unquote "med spa." We do wellness, regenerative medicine, aesthetics, things like that, things I'm passionate about. And I never knew I would have the door open for me to open a business like this. A, it's something I'm very passionate about. But B, what I realized was once I learned how to run an optometry practice and the other things that I do, that it was really no difference opening up a practice in a different field. I am not the medical director and I'm not the provider. I am just the driver, the owner. I know how to operate it and I have the patients that want to come to it. So a lot of doctors think, how can I offer aesthetics if I wasn't even trained in it? The answer is you don't. You hire people that do, and you've already got the foundation to set it up. You have a practice that people come to. So there's this new wave happening of us being able to help them with eyelid issues, skin wrinkles, tightening, the things people do care about when it comes to their appearance. And, they feel the only other option might be a plastic surgeon, but you have tools like the OptiLift or OptiLight or radio frequency. There are so many things you can do now, and I think that everyone should be trying to figure out how to incorporate it in their practice because it's something people want. And the other great part is we don't have to worry about insurance, which is a real big relief to our industry, so
Yeah. So you're in the tech space too in the industry. Where do you see tech going? You've kind of hinted at that. What do you see? Yeah.
Tech is interesting right now in eye care. I don't think optometrists yet have valued tech for the things it can do for your practice. Most business owners right now, optometry practice business owners, are over the age of 35. So that means that they opened it or they bought it in a time that was really different than right now. And having a meaningful small business or practice, or even if you own 12 locations and it's not so small, it really doesn't matter. What's happened to a lot of us is we've hired all these people and we feel like, why do we have people if we're just going to have tech do everything? And so they keep the people and then they don't invest in the technology. And the bummer about that is you don't realize how much more people can do now that we have these assistants to do the busy work for us. Humans don't like mundane tasks. There isn't any human that likes it. There really isn't. There's no such thing as someone who is obsessed with data entry or obsessed with insurance verification or obsessed with processing contact lens orders manually. So the thing about it is people are now wondering, well, if I invest in all these technologies, what is my staff going to do? Your staff's going to connect with your patients and get referrals and keep them coming and give them a warm and inviting experience. They're not going to be worn down and tired. My staff is barely on a computer. They are talking to my patients the entire time. They are sharing experiences. They are selling product. They are talking about their family, whatever it is, those moments that create the connection between the practice and the patient, that happens because of humanness. So I think that's important for optometrists to start to shift their mentality because when we started selling Doctor Contact Lens, that was a very common comment. They're like, well, if Doctor Contact Lens is going to do all of our ordering for us and all of the automation and they never have to come back to see us to manually order it, what's my staff going to do? And I realized that they haven't really fully conceptualized the shift of what does it mean to use technology and still have value to the people that I have in my practice. And I think there's more, you give them more value and you also give them a more sound mind because they're not going to be spending the rest of their life doing these horrifying, mundane. Again, I don't know anybody that likes doing administrative tasks. And if they do, they're probably the type who prefers to be home working on their computer, not with people anyway, right? So we have a business of connecting with people. That's what optometry really is. At the end of the day, everyone knows that. And so it allows you to do that. And I think that's a really important reframe that we all need in this industry.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, there's my background's in lean manufacturing, and in that world, there's a concept called judoka.
Okay.
It's a Japanese word. It basically means automation with a human touch. And the core concept is um, robots work for humans, not the other way around. In manufacturing, it tends to be everything gets built around the automation versus like it's supporting the humans. But I think healthcare is more human focused, anyways. I think that's a really helpful framing
Yes.
that we try to take. It's like, okay, well, yes, this is great. Now we need to be able to. Now, what can the staff do to develop that connection, that world class service? What are some unique things that no one else is doing that we could do, right?
Correct.
Because we have this time. Yeah,
And if you look at any top performing business and you see their reviews, it's always about something to do with the human connection. It's very rarely, oh, they had this tech and I was so impressed. So it's not going to build your business in that way. It's going to give your staff the ability to become a huge connection to every person who walks into your business. And that's how your business actually grows. So it's kind of,
yeah,
it's like a bridge. It's a bridge to creating more human connection despite what we think. So, yeah, I think it's been a game changer for us. We have so much time to connect with our patients because nearly everything I do is automated. And I didn't start out that way. When I started practicing, that's why I created Doctor Contact Lens. I calculated how many minutes the staff takes to order by the time they dispense it and bill it and invoice it, call them, pick it up. It was like 25 minutes an order. And I was like, geez, I mean, and contacts per box are not the most profitable thing, so you have to sell them in volume anyway. You have to sell it in volume in order to make money. So I was like, "This is really crazy. I would rather be doing a lot of things with that half an hour." That's why I built it. So, and it did change things a lot. The patients were ordering from us again instead of going to other vendors online and asking for their prescription. I mean, it still happens to a small degree, but we have a 90% capture rate, so it's pretty good.
that's really good. Yeah. Uh, so I want to shift gears a little bit. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself. So can you share us a story that was formative to you, that made you who you are today?
Well, there's so many to think about. I think that one of the stories that really impacted my journey as a human, but also as an entrepreneur, sort of both, was one of the first times I made a huge investment in myself and I crashed and burned from it. So, Bree and I had designed this platform, Dr. Contact Lens, and we put our life savings into it. And this web developer basically created nothing and took all of our money, right? So it was the first time I was like severely scammed and also really pushed to a choice. Do you believe in it so much that you've tripped and fallen, right? Are you gonna get up or are you just gonna go forget it? This is a sign I'm not meant to do this. And I think about that a lot because that event shaped the way that I moved forward for the rest of my entrepreneurial career, but also it affected me in my resilience as a human in general. Because when we overcame that, I realized the power of intention and the power of positive belief, also the power of just manifestation in general. And I think that I have had endless challenges since then. That wasn't the first one. That was like, oh my gosh, that was the first of many. But what happened, the first one was devastating, right? You cry, you freak out, you don't know what to do with yourself. You really you have to even soul search whether you're meant to do what you're doing when you feel that hard. But what happened was because we had each other and we picked each other back up, we believed in it so much and we moved forward. Now, anytime a disaster happens, I can kind of go back to that moment and remember what it felt like to bounce back and how it just happens. Like if you just keep moving and you don't put too much energy on what the failure was, it's actually so amazing what's on the other side of it. And let me say this. You decide how much time you spend mourning your bad decisions. I always give myself 24 hours. I
Sure.
give myself 24 hours. Something came up recently, maybe 2 months ago that was pretty devastating for it was a personal thing. I gave myself 24 hours and I made a decision that this wouldn't be the story. And the way things have already turned around in 60 days is actually nothing short of a miracle. It was just my mindset of being like, "No, I reject this reality. I am going to believe in an alternate version of this story until it manifests." And little by little, these little things were shifting and I was like, I learned that from that initial big mess up because I can't think of one I had that big before then. That was my truly first yikes moment of my life. So
I'm yeah, that's a lot. That's scary. That's gotta be frustrating, angry, sad, yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of emotions tied up with that.
it's a lot of letdown, emotion. It's also lost hard work money. We were only practicing 5 years at that point. So our life savings was based on 5 years of hard work, and we could have paid off our student loans. So so we didn't. Instead, we kept going. And I learned a lot of that, honestly, from having a co-founder because what ends up happening is when you're down, they're up. When you're up, they're down. It kinda just works, and you figure
Yeah,
out how to motivate each other all the time. You never have room to both be upset, I'll tell you that. Which you have to figure out how to be there for each other. Otherwise, you won't make it, and I think that's probably the same rules for even a good marriage, right? It's like, you gotta learn how to always when someone's low, you've gotta be up, and you've gotta be able to do that for one another. I think humans all need to do that for one another, and that's how we all grow.
I like that. So what advice would you give to your younger self right after graduating OD school?
I probably would have said to myself, "You're gonna be amazed at the things that you do with this career choice." And I think that message is also important for anyone in this industry or any industry. When you start in any kind of specialty, whether you're an optometrist, a doctor, it doesn't matter. It ends up being something that can be anything you want it to be. It's not always the cookie cutter expectation. Oh, I'm just going to be an optometrist and that's it. There is so much more you could do, and I think we're all seeing that in our industry. There's so many people that have really worked in the industry on top of their own practices. They've built other things, and it's been incredible for them and for the entire industry.
Yeah, I like that. Um, and so I'm curious, there's a lot of folks, it's hard to build an empire yourself. And I'm curious who you have that you kind of like, hey, this person's someone I follow or interested in. Like, who are some of those people you'd like to give a shout out to?
In our industry?
Any industry, anything at all.
Oh gosh, there's so many. Well, I have to pick some, huh? I've seen some really incredible things from founders in our industry like Octify, right? Which is a very similar technology to Doctor Contact Lens. That's Dave Barton, who's the founder of that. He does basically the same thing we do, but with online glasses sales. And they actually came up in the business a very similar time as us. And, you know, there are so many that I'm thinking of right now that have created so many communities and interesting visions in our industry that are all inspirational in their own way. I don't think there's like one where I'm like, oh, they've done it all. But I think all of us have it's almost like we're part of the same graduating class. Like we all started a business with an eye care to offer a better way to practice in this industry. And it seems like we all started like 5 or 10 years ago, and we're all kind of in the same place. A lot of them are Techify founders. And there are bigger companies like the company Weave, which a lot of us have heard about. Wasn't founded by an optometrist, but I think that's a really great example of a profound technology that is designed to support the practice in a robust way. I've been to their headquarters, right? They have an incredible company, incredible the energy and the vibe of the team at Weave is really inspirational. So there's no one specific like I can point to over there because I don't even know who the founder of Weave was, but I have met a
I
lot.
think they're bigger now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're probably not even they're not the owner anymore. But either way, I have met so many people in general at all these businesses that have been such an example for us to also keep going when we felt like, oh, is this right? Should we keep going? Should we give up? Are optometrists ready for tech? That's always been a question for us and probably other tech founders in the industry. And I think, yeah, I think that's been sort of what's inspired me along the way.
Awesome. Well, if people want to get in touch with you, Jennifer, where can they find you?
You can find me all over. I'm on LinkedIn, so I'm Jen Tabiza there, and I have a new Instagram page I started for giving business and advice in growing your aesthetic and dry eye practice. So on Instagram, I'm the aesthetic coach OD. And you can find me on Facebook, you can find me all over the place. I mean, you just search my name, I'm on every platform, so and Doctor Contact Lens, of course, is on there too, so yeah, I'm easy to find.
We'll put those in the show notes too for folks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer, thank you again so much for being a guest on the show.
Thank you so much.
And one of my biggest takeaways is um, the fact that you have to find your core of genius and build on that, right? Whether it's tech, whether it's healthcare or something, there's something that excites you. Build on that versus trying to build someone else's empire or build someone else's dream. Build your own. And that will get you a lot further.
A lot of people think that success is subtractive, meaning you have to give something to be successful. But if it's within your zone of genius, you want to do it anyway. So it's actually
Yeah.
adding to your life. So I always tell people that when they're like, "Oh, I have this great idea." I'm like, "Is it something that's truly to your core part of who you are?" Because then it won't feel like work, at least most of the time, right? Not 100% of the time, but so you always want something to add to your life, not take away. So if you feel like you have to sacrifice something to create something, it's not part of your zone of genius. And that's always a good reference to know whether it's something you should pursue.
And it's a heck of a lot easier to fight through the downtimes when it's something that's in your zone of genius that you want to do versus, yeah, you have to do.
Exactly,
So
exactly. So,
great insight.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And
thank you.
thank you, audience. If you learned something or laughed, share the podcast with your friends and make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And if you see the link for a meeting at the bottom, if you sign up for a meeting, I'll send you a free copy of my book, Optometry Redefined. Thank you again, Jennifer, for being a guest. And this has been another exciting episode of Optometrists Building Empires. We'll see you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Optometrists Building Empires. Thanks for joining. For show notes and more, visit buildingempires.live. This show is proudly sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team was born out of staffing challenges my wife and I faced together, managing multiple optometry locations. We refined our approach at Classic Vision Care and now offer our expertise to others. If you're experiencing challenges with staffing and you'd like to set up a discovery call, we'd be happy to help you and connect you with the right resources. We'll see you next time.